So if you want to become a pilot in 2025, or have always dreamed of becoming a pilot, or if it's something that you've wanted to do to mark off on your bucket list, then in this video I'm going to give you the important steps that you're going to need to become a pilot. Whether you want to become a career airline pilot, or if you just want to fly for fun, and whether you're flying helicopters or airplanes or balloons or gliders, then you'll need to follow these steps. So a little bit about me. I've been flying airplanes for many years now, and I've also been a flight instructor as well. I've taught many students along the way, from private pilot students. I've had many commercial students, and I've helped many people get their instrument rating as well. And so I know a thing or two about the process of becoming a pilot. The first thing that you're going to want to do to actually make sure that you do want to become a pilot is to take a discovery flight. Now, a discovery flight is just a 1-hour flight lesson that you would take with an instructor. You'll fly up in the air and they'll let you take the controls of the aircraft, move it up, down, circles, and all over the place, just to see if it's something that you would enjoy doing. Now, the purpose of this is to, number one, see if it's something that you actually want to do, but second is to see if it's something you would want to do every single day, or also to make sure that you don't get airsick. I've heard many stories about people throwing up on discovery flights, so if you don't throw up on a discovery flight, then that's a good sign. Now, after you've had your discovery flight, then the second thing that you'll want to do, if you're really serious about this, is to research different flight schools. Keep in mind that just because you took your discovery flight at one school doesn't mean that you're obligated to continue your training at that same school. It's important to know which school meets your needs when getting your pilot certificate. To break down different types of schools, there's really two types, and these are just regulation numbers, but there's Part 61 and then there is Part 141 flight schools. Starting with Part 61, these schools have the same general requirements to get your private pilot certificate as a 141 school, but the difference is that there is no specific syllabus approved by the FAA or specific guidelines for your training. The benefit of a Part 61 school is that usually you're going to have more flexibility with your time. Now, granted, if you are a person that is working full-time, maybe you want to get your private pilot license for fun, then this is a great way to do that. Part 61 is going to be the recommended option. Or if you want to work your way through your flight training and want more flexibility of your schedule there, then Part 61 is definitely the way to go. Now, there's Part 141, where 141 schools have a specific curriculum, a specific syllabus that is approved by the FAA, and each flight lesson that you take is a specific step that's outlined with their processes. So you have schools like Epic Flight Academy, you have your university programs, and other big name schools are usually going to be Part 141. Now, the benefit of a 141 program is that it is very structured, and usually that means it is a higher quality, especially with the FAA approval. Now, another thing is that most flight schools in the United States are actually Part 61. So just keep that in mind. Then you also have hybrid schools, that I like to call them, a combination between Part 61 and 141. So for example, maybe some parts of their training is under 141, like maybe their private and their instrument are under 141, but their commercial is under Part 61. Sometimes they fragment that. Or in other ways, the schools are 141-like, meaning they have the high structure and they have that sophistication with their training, but they're technically under Part 61. You have schools like ATP or Coast Flight Training or SkyMates Inc. Those are some examples of that. Once you've decided on your flight school, then it's time to do the next thing, which is to get your medical certificate. The purpose of a medical certificate is to be able to prove that you are healthy enough to fly an aircraft. There are 3 types of medical certificates. You have first class, second, and third class medical certificates. Whatever you pick depends on what your goals are. If you just want to become a private pilot and you just want to fly for fun with your family and friends, just for recreation, then a third class is really all you're going to need. If you plan to become an airline pilot, and that's your goal, then you will need a first class medical to fly as an airline pilot. And then second class is for all other commercial operations outside of the airlines. And to book an appointment to get your medical certificate, you want to go to medexpress.com. aviation.faa.gov. And normally I would expect to pay about $100 to $200 depending on your location for the medical certificate, and of course depending on the grade of the certificate as well. Now once you've gotten your medical certificate, the next thing that you want to do is you want to figure out how you're going to pay for flight training in the first place. So really there's three main ways that people will pay for flight training. Either they saved up a bunch of money and they're able to just pay for it all at once. Maybe they'll work their way through flight training, or the most common way, especially if there's young students, they will get a loan for flight training. Now the most popular way of getting a student loan is through Sallie Mae, and I'll put in a link in the description just so you know where to find that. Now once you have figured out your method of payment, what you want to do then is apply for your student pilot certificate. So the student pilot certificate, really, you're going to need this for your solo flying and of course for your first check ride, but you're going to do this through iacra.faa.gov, and you're going to do this with your flight instructor 99 times out of 100, and they'll help you through that process. But to actually start the training or to actually take a flight lesson, a student pilot certificate is not necessary. Now the requirements for that are you have to be 16 years old, you have to be able to read and write and speak English fluently, and you need a medical certificate. All right, you've gotten your medical certificate, you got your payment figured out, and you've got your student pilot certificate all taken care of. So now the next thing is you want to get proper supplies. So this involves textbooks, this will involve a plotter, a knee board, E6B flight computer, and other things like pencil, journal, etc. You'll need a headset, and one thing I do recommend highly, not required, but I highly recommend, is an iPad. Some schools, usually the bigger schools, will require an iPad. That way you have an app called an electronic flight bag that helps you organize everything for your flight planning just in the touch of your fingertips. And usually they'll use ForeFlight or Garmin Pilot to use for the electronic flight bags. And as far as textbooks, two main ones that I recommend right off the bat are the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge and the Airplane Flying Handbook, or if you're flying helicopters, the Helicopter Flying Handbook. Usually they'll be about $20 if you buy it at a store paper copy, but you can get it on the FAA website for free. The next thing that you want to do, which it's not mandatory, but I really recommend it, and that is to get ahead on your written exams and your ground school. So whether it's taught by the school itself or if it's used by a third party, so usually most of the time flight schools will use a third-party software for their ground training for the written test. That'll be companies like King Schools or Pilot Institute or anything like that. Whatever you do use and whatever the school recommends, get ahead on that and actually take those lessons even before your first day of flight school. When you prepare for the ground knowledge early on before your first day, what this does for you is that not only do you have a little bit of knowledge, making it easier to absorb everything when you're actually flying, but also you're able to take your written test early on, and that way you have more time to focus on the knowledge for your check ride, which is going to be super important. So once you have done all of these steps, then you are ready for day one. So congratulations on starting your flight training. And now what's involved is you're going to get your private pilot certificate. That'll be the next step. That requires 40 hours, written exam completion, and then the check ride. I'll give you more insight on check rides in another video on what to do to prepare for them, how to study for them, and etc. And after that, normally what will happen is you'll get your instrument rating. Now, if you are just planning on flying for recreation, I highly recommend getting your instrument rating. That way you're able to fly in the clouds and low visibility and shoot instrument approaches. And overall, it will make you a much safer pilot. After you get your instrument rating, normally what will happen is that you will get your commercial license next. If you're in an airplane, that will usually start with the single engine, and then many times you'll get a multi-engine add-on on top of that later. And then other things, there is the CFI, Certified Flight Instructor, and then you can get other additions to that. And then you're on your way to build your flight time. The total flight time requirement to become an airline pilot specifically will be 1,500 hours. However, if you go to a university program, that total number will be reduced, whether it's 1,250 or 1,000, depending on how many credit hours you have. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment and please like this video. It really helps me a lot. And until next time, you take care, safe flight.